Hi, welcome back. I promised a video from Cairo about traffic from Cairo, but I've already posted on my personal Facebook page. I posted the whole summary of the trip to Egypt. So I decided maybe you know you should see the whole thing. There's a section there with my commentary about traffic in Cairo. So what follows is the whole summary of the trip. And also, I'm gonna at the end include my footage from traffic in Cairo, unedited. So I hope you enjoyed. Hi. So I've been thinking about shooting and posting this video for a few days. Uh, it, I decided to do it because I want to share my reflections about my recent trip to Istanbul and Cairo. We're going to stick to Cairo here. Istanbul is totally different, separate story. This is, of course, a little bit of the need for validation for me, but also there is no secret that I'm trying to learn how to shoot and edit videos. But it's also about the recent video I posted, sort of glorified video about Cairo. And I didn't want to post anything negative earlier until after I came back. So I decided to do this. I'm going to talk about the flight on Egypt Air to Cairo and Istanbul. I'm going to talk about the hotel in Cairo. I'm going to talk the positive aspects of the trip, which were many, overwhelmingly so. I mean, the experience was unreal. I'm going to talk about transportation in Cairo. I'm going to talk about the traffic in Cairo. I'm going to talk about the terrible poverty that people experience over there and the resulting desperation. I'll talk about food a little bit, although we didn't do much. I'm not much of a eater lately, so don't expect any steakhouse reviews in Cairo here. I'm gonna talk about alcohol a little bit, and then I'm gonna do a little summary at the end. So thanks for watching, and here we go. So first, the flight. I flew on Egypt Air from Toronto to Cairo and then to Istanbul and back. Uh, it's a long flight. It was supposed to be 10 and a half hours from Toronto to Cairo and 11 and a half hours on the way back on the long haul. It was a little longer than that, but roughly about 12 hours or so. The equipment, it was supposed to be a Boeing 787 Dreamliner on the long haul and Boeing 737-800 on the short hop from Cairo to Istanbul and back. So the short hop, that's what it was. It was the 737. It's an old plane, but it's smooth and reliable. It's actually, the seats were quite roomy even in economy, so that was okay. Got a decent meal. The long haul flight was a little different. On the leg from Cairo back to Toronto, it was a Dreamliner, but on the way from Toronto to Cairo, it was substituted by an older 777-300ER aircraft. It's a good plane. It's old. It was old. You could tell some of the stuff didn't work very well, but overall, it's also a reliable and smooth plane. So there were no issues. The flight was smooth. takeoffs and landings were uneventful, which is what you really want when you're flying. The food was okay. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was okay. On the short hop, there was a meal and a drink, no alcohol, but just water, some sort of a sandwich. On the long haul, there were three meals. Shortly after takeoff, about an hour and a half, they served some food. Then mid-flight, they served a sandwich and a drink. And then about an hour and a half before landing, there was also a meal. The food was okay, actually. I didn't really expect it to be great. I don't know anything about Egypt there again, but it was okay. It was actually quite tasty. The service was okay. The stewardesses were pleasant and very helpful. The aircraft were clean for the most part. I flew on the Dreamliner before, but I didn't remember, but I was a little surprised how spacious the washrooms were on the Dreamliner. Now I upgraded my seat slightly on the long haul, so I had plenty of room. And I was very comfortable. The seats were good. Entertainment sucked as usual, but I had my noise cancelling headphones on and had books on my phone and music, that sort of thing. So it was fine. Of course, not the main reason, but the original destination was Istanbul, but Egypt Air offered a really good price, even with the seat upgrade. So that was the story. I decided to use Egypt Air, and since we were flying to Cairo anyway, it made sense to stop in Cairo, especially on the way over, for a few days and experience, one of the wonders of the world. And boy, am I glad it happened. It was freaking awesome. So next we have the airport in Cairo. It's an okay facility. It's mostly like other airport of that sort around the world. I've been to a few places, so it's okay. One thing when you fly to Egypt or plan your trip to Egypt is that Canadians require a visa to enter Egypt. And when you book your flight, you're offered all kinds of links for an advance visa application for Egypt. And it was totally unnecessary. I didn't do it, but I figured it out eventually that you could just get the visa once you land at the airport. So they overcharge like crazy for these advanced visa options. But the reality is, once you land in Cairo, before you get to the border police, there is a window, and you could just walk up and just give them $20 US, and they hand you a sticker, which you give to the border police, and they stick it in your passport and stamp it, and that's it. The security in Cairo is quite high. I mean, it's normal. Initially, when you get into the airport, you go through a security check, and then you go into the gate area. There's another security check, of course. What was different was that once you're in the gate area and you needed to go through another security check to get into your aircraft at the gate, a full security check with a scanner and all that stuff. The border police were okay, nice, but there were soldiers also. So on the way out of the terminal in Cairo, you go through a border police check, and then there were actually two checks manned by soldiers. And then once we left the airport in a taxi, there were freaking posts with sandbags and machine guns on the approach to the airports. I mean, soldiers with helmets pointing machine guns at you. That was quite something, you know. The food, we didn't eat anything special at the airport. There are all kinds of Western style restaurants like Burger King and stuff like that. There are also better restaurants. Alcohol in Cairo at the airport is available. It's Western pricing, of course. A beer costs you like $10, $15 US, depending on which restaurant you go to. One thing you have to be really cautious about is planning your transportation from the airport, because once you get out of the terminal, it's a zoo. I mean, you get swamped by hustlers that offer you taxi rides. So that's two key important points for a Canadian when you land in Cairo is the visa thing, and another one is transportation from the airport. It's not a simple matter like here in Toronto of getting on a bus or getting into a taxi. No. Transportation is really a weakness in Cairo, so, and especially at the airport where there are dozens of hustlers waiting for naive Westerners like myself, ready to pounce. So plan accordingly. Now, the hotel, a separate story. I booked the hotel via bookings.com, and unfortunately the listing turned out to be fake. I don't know how they allowed it to happen, but it did. There was no booking. I also, with the hotel booking, I booked right from the airport to the hotel. And of course, once we got out of the terminal, there was nobody waiting for us. There was supposed to be a car waiting, but there was nobody waiting. And so we picked some guy that promised the world, and of course overcharged us quite a bit to get from the airport to the hotel. And on the way to the hotel, we kept searching for this hotel, and it turned out it didn't exist. So eventually we picked a hotel that was close to where we wanted to be, which I thought was a good idea, to be in Giza, close to the pyramids. I didn't want to go to the center of Cairo. That turned out to be a big mistake. The surroundings of the hotel were awful. It was just rubble and dirt. The whole neighborhood looked like it was carpet bombed the day before. It was awful. The hotel itself, it was okay. It was fairly clean. Nothing special. It had air conditioning, and the bathroom was functioning and relatively clean. The food at the restaurant at the hotel was nothing special, and it was really expensive under the circumstances. So we only had one meal at the restaurant on the afternoon of the arrival, and the breakfast was included in the price of the hotel, but we only took advantage of that once and didn't want to go back. So the eggs were nondescript. It wasn't great. So we never went back for breakfast, whatever went back to the hotel restaurant for a meal either. So that's the hotel. My advice is you book your hotel, you book a Western chain hotel. Don't go for the for a little bit cheaper locally run hotels. Do your due diligence. Book your hotel properly. Book a ride from the airport properly. Let's get into the positive aspects of the trip. Seeing the pyramids and the Sphinx with your own eyes is an unforgettable experience, of course. No videos or pictures do it justice. It's like a time machine. You go back thousands of years in history, so it is quite something. Uh, of course, uh, there are a couple of different ways you can experience the pyramids and the Sphinx, and the proper ways to use the tourist center and follow what guided tourist uh, tours do. Uh, we made the unfortunate mistake of entering the pyramid complex from the Sphinx side entrance, and that turned out to be a huge mistake. The on the Sphinx side, the entrance is unbelievable. It's just dirt and chaos, pretty much. There's no police, very limited security, and the hassles begin as soon as you get out of the taxi. People are hassling you all the time about everything. I mean, you get jumped on right away, and once you pay the fee to get in, I mean, even before that, as soon as you get out of the taxi, there's a guy that wants to show you where to come in and where to pay, and so it's difficult to to shake the hustlers off. And once you're inside the complex, the hustle continues. The horseback riding hustlers and the camel riding hustlers are just relentless. And people selling you scarves and souvenirs are relentless. They're all over you. You'd actually, I mean, I had one guy that was so persistent, he took $5 US to shake him off. He was incredibly persistent, and I was I lost my patience at some point. But there is nothing to turn to, so you just have to maintain your composure and just ignore people that hustle you relentlessly all over the place. The pyramids themselves, what a sight! The Sphinx, what a sight! It is not as organized as you would expect, in a sense that there is some guidance from the way this thing is set up officially, and there's also a electric bus uh, way around the complex you can take. That's included in the price of the entry. You can take the electric bus from one stop to another to check out the whole complex, so which is great. But overall, it's a difficult thing because on one hand you're seeing unbelievable things in front of your eyes. On the other hand, you have people just relentlessly hustling you all the time, squeezing everything you've got out of you, and it's very difficult to resist. Yeah. For seasoned travelers, you might think like like a funny thing, but I've been to places all over the world, and the desperation there is relentless. And one of the reasons for that desperation is that During COVID, they had zero tourism there, and they haven't recovered since. So people are really, really desperate, and you can tell. I understand they have families to support, so I understand that. I understand the relentlessness, but it's something that you have to be prepared for and something that you have to cope with. So plan accordingly. Now, from the pyramid complex, we went to the Grand National Museum of Egypt, and that thing was phenomenal. I mean, the structure, the architecture, the artifacts, the displays was incredible. It's really difficult to believe, and the interesting part is that not everything is like protected or walled off behind the glass or anything like that. All many artifacts are you can even touch. The security slacks, they don't really care. uh, the complex is magnificent, and there is a part of it. There's a food court sort of thing, and there's a Starbucks and a restaurant there, and you can get a drink and something to eat. So the facility itself of the Grand National Museum is fabulous. It wasn't cheap, but it was good. It was well worth it. So that's a must if you're planning a trip. Again, the transportation from your hotel to the museum and back, that sort of thing. You need to plan well ahead and be prepared to pay. And if you make arrangements, don't give too much consideration to the price, because it's worth avoiding the hassle. I mean, the hassle is incredible in Cairo. It's unbelievable. So it's worth to spend a few extra dollars to avoid that hassle. Now, there are other places in Cairo. There's the center of Cairo with modern neighborhoods that are nice and clean and well developed and well kept. There are also shopping malls in Cairo. We went to a shopping mall called the Mall of Arabia, and that was quite something. It was like being in Sherway Gardens in Toronto here, quite modern, clean, air conditioning. It's just really great. So that's one part of the coin. The other part of the coin is the flip side of the coin is that I'm glad, on the other hand, that we sort of run into these problems, because it gave us an opportunity to learn about how people really, really live in Cairo, and the stuff is real. The poverty is real, and the tourism side and the landmark side and the pyramids and the museums and all that stuff. That's only part of the story. When you get out on the streets of Cairo, it's quite depressing how people live and how they behave. So it's real stuff. If you have the guts to do it, do it. If you're traveling with family, or somebody who's not prepared for this, somebody a little more vulnerable, then it's not for you. Plan accordingly. Now, the main thing in Cairo is transportation. The city is large, 28 million people. It's without knowing what you're doing, it's very difficult to get around. So transportation is an issue. There are taxis, of course, but every ride with a taxi, it's a transactional thing. You have to negotiate absolutely everything. Now, Uber functions in Cairo, but the same as if you catching a ride with Uber outside of the tourism kind of thing, then uh, it's okay. We took a couple of rides from our hotel to the Mall of Arabia and back, and it was fine. But uh, as soon as anything is connected to tourism, like going to the airport or going to the pyramids or anything like that, the hustle starts. I mean, you order an Uber, like for example, we ordered an Uber to get to the airport, and the Uber app shows the price of close to 600 Egyptian pounds, and the driver accepted our ride, and when he showed up, he flatly said, "I'm canceling this trip unless you pay 2,000 pounds to get to the airport." And finally settled on 10 bucks US and 200 Egyptian pounds to get to the airport from our hotel, which is not much, but under the circumstances, it's triple, quadruple the price. And it was the same thing at the Grand National Museum. We couldn't catch a ride from the museum to our hotel. It was incredible. I mean, I communicated with several Uber drivers, and I was hassled outside the door of the museum by 2 dozen hustlers, and it's the same thing. Everything is a negotiation. As soon as they see a Westerner or tourist, the game starts. And on the other hand, I know people who've been to Cairo on their own, just freelancing like us. And I even know a guy who rented a car and drove up around Egypt. But it's not for everyone. Be prepared, plan accordingly. Transportation is a big issue. I mean, to the point where you see people riding on bumpers on the back of minivans, just holding on to the rail on top of the roof. So it's quite something. You have to be prepared. Don't take anything for granted. Be prepared. Now we get to traffic. Traffic in Cairo can best be described as total chaos. So major arteries are quite wide. The cars are all beaten up wrecks. I mean, I've seen maybe a dozen decent cars in Cairo over the 3 days. Most of the cars and minibuses, and they're like 70s and 80s era, kind of VW minibuses with holes where lights are supposed to be. So that's that. They use motorcycles, scooters extensively in traffic. They kind of weave their way around traffic. Pedestrians are a completely different story. I mean, there are no pedestrian crossings anywhere. People kind of dodge traffic, run across multiple lane highways. Those minibuses that pick up passengers, that they just stop on near the off-ramp. People spill out of the bus and they walk down the off-ramp down to the street below to catch their next ride. So it's all quite surreal. Like I said, there's no traffic lights or traffic signs anywhere. You can't turn left because most of the major streets have a divider in the middle, because otherwise, I don't know, they would kill each other. And the only traffic control thing that they use is speed bumps, which are unmarked. And if you don't keep your eye out for speed bumps, you can wreck your car in a second because they're quite harsh. So pedestrians, and then they use animals extensively in traffic. I've seen. I don't know if you've seen the video of a guy on horseback riding in the middle of of traffic. They use horses, they use donkeys, and they use camels, and quite often they go the wrong way. On your side of the street, they come up the wrong way. But I also seen a donkey-drawn cart galloping in the left lane on a multi-lane street. I also It's 40-degree heat, and the guy that was whipping the donkey was relentless. I've seen a horse also in 40-degree heat, a horse delivering water to places, galloping in heat, and you know you look at that horse, you feel horrible, but it doesn't faze them. They're relentless. There's no lane discipline anywhere. Some of the the lanes are marked, but nobody pays any attention for that. Well, I mentioned before about the terrible shape of vehicles. It's just awful. I mean, you see cars of vintage of 60s and 70s. I even seen some of the stuff that I haven't seen since communist Poland, like cars that were actually built in Russia and in Poland in the 70s. They still drive them around. And of course, the unifying thing for everything is the horn blowing. They use their horns to sort of guide themselves through traffic and establish their position in traffic, so that the horn blowing is a constant thing. Actually, when you're next to a busy street anywhere in Cairo, that's the main source of noise. People using their horns all the time. I guess if your horn doesn't work, you can't go out in traffic. I mean, they just blow their horns all the time. I don't know what it is. I mean, I have an idea what it is. It's such chaos on the streets there that the horn blowing everywhere sort of helps them establish where the next car is. You never really know. I assume there is no special way of the way they beat their horns, but it seems that you blow your horn, it could mean anything. I'm letting you in front of me, don't go there, I'm too close, any of that sort of thing. So that's one thing that's unifying about traffic in Cairo, is the relentless blowing of the horns in cars. So if you want to drive there, good luck. Now, to summarize all that, you know, I had mixed feelings initially. I kind of regretted going to Cairo initially. But in retrospect, the fact that we kind of took the freelance approach to the city, in a way, paid off. Meaning that we really touched base with how people live in Cairo. And I suppose if we just stuck to a guided tour and pre-booked Western hotel, we would have never experienced how real people live in Cairo, which is unreal. But I would still advise to anybody, who wants to go to Cairo, to stick to reputable tour operators, book your tour, book your flight through reputable sources and stick to them. So it's a kind of double-edged sword. I mean, if you have the kahuns, the guts to kind of freelance your way around, and you're strong-willed and have a strong personality. Sure, sure. At the end of the day, they're just people. I haven't seen any attempts to assault anybody or anything like that. It's mostly verbal hassle. It's relentless, but it's mostly verbal hassle. So it's a double-edged sword, and the pyramids are, of course, something to see. Avoid the Sphinx entrance at all costs. Go through the official tourist entrance. Keep in mind that transportation is pretty much non-existent. So you have to figure out how you're going to get around. I mean, Uber works to a certain extent. Taxis work to a certain extent. Everything is a negotiation. Food, I didn't have much of an appetite, so I can't really comment on food. Like I said before, there are probably places where you can eat well. Security, not that many policemen around, to be honest. Mind you, I didn't see anything happen. But it's an issue. So plan well and plan with caution. And I know people, like I mentioned before, I know people who actually done that kind of freelance sort of thing, and they've done well and they're happy. So this is not meant to be a warning of any sort, but just develop a plan. Don't look at the cost. For most of us, it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, so don't hesitate to spend a little more. Cairo is not a place where you can cut costs. Like some of those trips we were offered at the hotel seemed expensive initially. In retrospect, they weren't. So that's the way it is. So I'm glad I could share it with you. If you want to ask me anything or share any comments or anything like that, I welcome them. I will gladly respond. In the meantime, I hope this video worked. Maybe I'll do more, travel elsewhere and shoot stuff like this, who knows. I focus on other things right now, more sort of traffic-related stuff, which is my hobby, traffic police, that kind of thing. So I have other channels on Facebook, YouTube, and X. You can find me there easily, so go ahead, check it out. Thank you for watching. So long. So this is some of the footage I shot in Cairo. I had to eliminate the original audio because, the algorithm was cutting the audio out anyway, even before these shots, even when I was just speaking on the camera. So we are on the streets of Giza right now. You see a man on horseback riding away in Giza. This is one of the streets from our hotel back towards the center of Cairo. We were actually in a taxi on our way to a beer store. Here are some camels. Now we on the way back from the beer store to our hotel in Giza. You can see the pyramids up ahead. The beer store was a totally different story. It was a small, nondescript little crap hole where you get handed your beers through a little window and you give your cash. This is what real street action looks in Giza. That alley was unbelievable. It was just rubble and dirt and that sort of thing. Here we can see the pyramids We're on our way from our hotel to the Mall of Arabia, actually, here. So this is a better part of Cairo on the west side. Here's a nice neighborhood, totally different to where we were in Giza. That's a police checkpoint. I believe we were on our way to the Grand Museum of Egypt then. This is some footage when we are on the way back from the Mall of Arabia to our hotel. I have such mixed emotions now watching it and recording this audio. Look at these buildings. Looks to me that they're like buildings initially start very raw, and then they start selling the properties or something like that. This is a much better neighborhood. We're on our way back now to Cairo's airport. So that's the way it looks. Thanks for watching. Catch up with you soon.